All right, so any questions about number 6? Are you starting to see the patterns? Because again, I'm not lying to you. It's just this easy. As many questions as we've gone over so far, okay, how about I show you what I'm looking at? There we go. Okay, so remember, the only thing that we are doing is we are looking at a cash receipt. So in every single one of these items where it said, you know, we've got a cash receipt, right? Then we answer the question, what was the cash receipt for? Well, did we collect it from a customer on a prior sale, right? We sold it, well, from your perspective, we sold it back here. We're now collecting from the customer here, okay? Did we buy equipment, buildings, or automobiles? Okay, now, excuse me, I say buy. Did we sell equipment, buildings, and automobiles? That will be in a later chapter. We're not going to do that in chapters 1, 2, and 3. All right, cash. Did we borrow money from the bank? Okay. Did we issue common stock? Did we sell some kind of service or product? Did we collect on gift cards on a future sale? You with me? So there's 1, 2, 3, let's see, actually there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different scenarios where if you just recognize the pattern that we collected cash and then answer the question, okay, so what was it for? So when you're attacking a question like that, again, most everybody can get cash. So if cash is going up, then give me a debit to cash, fill in the two amounts. You're already up to a C. Now it's a matter of what was the cash collection for. Fill in the blank. If we have a cash disbursement, give me a credit to cash. Drop in the number. Give me a debit. So now you got the cash, the two numbers, and now answer the question, what was it for? What did we buy equipment, buildings, or automobiles? Did we buy inventory? Is going to be chapter 5. We won't get there until chapter 5. But we are looking at supplies and prepaid assets. So on the supplies, we bought the supplies, we put them in the supply closet. Prepaid assets. Remember, those prepaid assets are prepaid advertising, prepaid rent, and prepaid insurance. Those are the 3 biggies. We pay for them in advance, and then we start using them up a little bit at a time. Okay? Did we pay down an old bill, right? So accounts payable goes down. Are we paying off the principal on the note? I don't think we get to that one until chapter 8, maybe, something like that. Are we paying dividends? Are we paying for expenses in the same time period in which the expense is incurred? Okay. Are we billing customers? Okay, well, if we're billing customers, it's always accounts receivable gets the debit. What's the amount we're billing them? And was it for sales or service revenue? Learn to identify the patterns. Did we receive a bill? So if we received a bill from someone else, we now owe accounts payable, and now the question is, what did we buy? Did we buy equipment, buildings, and automobiles, inventory, supplies, some other expense? Okay. So up until this point, these 4 categories, I promise you, are the 4 big categories on this first exam. You just got to learn to recognize them as you're reading the question. Okay? All right. Let's move forward. All right. So now, let me just run through a couple of these just to kind of give you a feel for if you're having trouble, what might be a good question for you to work on. In question 7 under the static problems, look, it tells you what learning objective it is. It's 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. So if you're sitting there and you're studying for the exam and you're like, I'm not real clear on 3-1, look for a question that has learning objective 3.1 in it. Okay? They are in, by the way, the order in which the learning objectives are presented. So you'll see, if it's only learning objective 1 and only learning objective 2, you'll see those two first. If you then have a third question that says it's learning objective 1 and 2, then that usually, I put that after learning objective, all the ones that have learning objective 2 in them. So when they're more of a cumulative, they're a little bit later in the list, okay? But they are all, you should see this learning objective, and you should be able to answer those. Now, on this one, if you're having a little bit of difficulty, let me just say that this is not very application oriented, and that's kind of where I like to live in this class. But, you get a debit and a credit, and then you drop in the number for which accounts are being affected. So if you're having trouble with determining which accounts are affected, this might actually be a good one for you to practice with. Okay, but we're not going to do this one in class. Okay, let's look at number 8. Okay, we're going to analyze, journalize, and interpret business activities. So again, this one, note what's going on here. You will need to be able to put it in this format. Now, understand what's happening here in this one. In this kind of format, where you've got this table, just realize that here, it's like if the asset is going up, right, we would choose the asset. And then over here, if it's going up, we put it in as a positive number. If it's going down, we put it in as a negative. Okay, and that's the format in which that occurs. That may be a pretty decent question to consider, but that's not necessarily real world application. You with me? Okay, all right, so that's number 8. Number 9, notice part 2. So notice what just happened there. So in that previous question, it's the same data. You're in the same company. Here, they're trying to get you to see what are the accounts that are being affected. Are they going up or down? And then you're sort of categorizing them within the group: asset, liability, equity, or temporary account. Okay? When you get over here to part 2 of that question, it's the exact same transactions, but now we're just going to put them in journal entry format. So when we sit there and we talk through the question of, okay, cash is going down, here we would say cash gets a credit, but over here, if we're saying cash is going down, then we would just simply put cash, and we would put, I don't know, a negative $100. You with me? So I prefer to live over here in the journal entries because, again, I want you to practice the whole debit and credit thing so much that you quit thinking about that connection of somehow debit and credit meaning add and subtract. It doesn't. Anybody want to claim it, that the fact that you're still there? Okay, it happens. That's one. I know that's one, because I promise you, I understand how this feels, because it would be a little bit like you walking into class, and I suddenly, this wall over here, what color is it? It's blue, right? And if I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's not blue, it's red. Because your whole entire lives, every time you've heard the word debit and credit, you thought it meant add, subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract. And I'm like, nope, doesn't mean that. And suddenly it's like I'm calling blue red. And you're like, I don't know whether I trust her or not, because that's not what I learned. Okay? So I get it, and it feels weird. As my husband tells a lot of, when he was working on computer projects and running that kind of stuff and everything, he says it's a little bit like taking your watch off your wrist and putting it on your ankle. It feels really weird that we're going to do something. Okay? All right. So, are there any additional journal entries or transactions or anything that we've gone over so far and you're just like, I don't know, that one felt a little bit weird. Can we look at another one? Because because again, if we've got it, we've got it. You with me? If we got it, we got it. But if there's something else, if there's something specific that we need to look at, then let's look at it. Because again, I want you to have as much information down pat when you leave class before that exam opens on Friday. And let me just say, I know it opens on Friday and it closes on Tuesday. I am not going to recommend that you put off taking that exam until Tuesday. What the most effective and efficient way to do this is you leave class today. You do some studying possibly tonight, maybe not, because you've had couple hours in class of working on it. Work on it again tomorrow. Look at those front pages of the chapter. Make sure that you've got all those learning objectives down that they list in the chapters. And if you can, knock that exam out on Friday. And then enjoy your holiday weekend. Okay? Because let me tell you the worst approach. You leave class and you're going, I got it. Not a problem. And you don't do anything tomorrow. You don't do anything on Friday. You hit the holiday weekend and you have a great time all weekend, which I want you to do. And then on Tuesday, you pick it back up and you haven't looked at it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 5 whole days. And you pick it up and guess what's going to happen? It's like, oh crap, I thought I had this. And you're starting all the way back over from zero or near zero to work that familiarity back up. Okay? Because we're learning how to do something brand new. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And so let me just say now, and I would now let me say it this way. I would completely agree with that for one reason. I am not at my best at 11 o'clock at night. I'm ready to be done like at 8:30. And so trying to do something like this at 11 o'clock at night for me, and it sounds like you as well, is like, oh no, But I will also tell you, trust me on this one, I am not a history girl. I was doing horribly in American history because I could not memorize all those stupid names and dates and everything else that my instructor wanted me to memorize. And it drove me crazy. And my mother says, I know what you need to do. You need to get up really early and you need to study before you go to school. So she was getting me up at 5 o'clock in the morning to study. Guess what? That didn't work either. Okay? So I figure out when your fresh time is, when you're good, you're ready to rock and roll. You know, you're not. It's not that mid-afternoon slump thing. If you get that, you want to be in a good place when you're working on this stuff, because then you put less time into it and you get way more out of it. And it's something. Remember, it's called an accounting practice. That's what we accountants have when we actually do accounting work. It's called an accounting practice because you have to practice it all the time. And something new is always going to pop up. Absolutely. Perfect. I love it. Yes, exactly. I love it because again, it's like the whole thing of trying to cram everything in. It's like you're going to reach a fatigue point if you're sitting there trying to cram it in for hours and hours and hours and hours. You're diminishing returns there. Okay? Okay? All right. So, all right. So there's some additional journal entries. You got your preliminary net income. Remember, you're just simply adding all your revenues, subtracting all your expenses. The only reason why it says preliminary is because, again, the only thing that's been recorded in the accounting department when you're hitting preliminary net income is cash receipts, cash disbursements, billing customers, recording invoices from vendors. This is before all the journal entries so that we can actually get everything updated and correct. Let's see. Again, more journal entries. So again, I'm hoping you're figuring out. It's like you're going to see a lot of journal entries and things on the exam. Let's talk about a couple of things here, though. So one approach to seeing journal entries in like a multiple choice question is they give you the transaction, the information for the transaction, and then you got 4 answers to choose from. Okay, so let me give you a couple of tips. Hopefully, one answer you're going to be like, that's just not even close. Okay, and hopefully you're going to mark that one out. The second one is probably going to be opposite of the correct one. So if you needed to debit cash, it's going to say credit cash, and if you needed to, credit revenue, it's going to debit revenue. Okay, so it's going to be opposite. So hopefully that one is out. And then the other two, one's going to be the correct one, and one's going to look awfully close. So it's going to be things like if you bought supplies, maybe, with cash, right? Cash went down, and now one of those journal entries says supplies is going to increase, and one's going to say supplies expense is going to increase. So now you have to choose the different, between the two and go, did we use those supplies or did we just put them in the supply closet? So which one of those accounts do I choose? Okay, so watch for things like that. Now, on a question like that, here's my thought. 2 things. When you sit down to take, because again, remember, it's going to be 2 pieces to the exam. When you sit down to take a piece, have a beverage with you. You need multiple pencils. Make sure that you've got erasers. Make sure that you've got something to write on. Because in a question where they give you the transaction and then all those journal entries down below to choose from, here's what I think would work better for you. If you have a Post-it note to cover up the answers, okay? And read the transaction and write down on your notepad. It's like, okay, I think this is a debit to cash and a credit to sales revenue. Then match what you have written down to what's on the screen. Because once you actually start reading each one of those transactions, guess what's happening? That blender is just grinding away up there. And then by the time you get to, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th question, you're like, oh my God, I thought I knew this. Okay. Let's see. And I would also tell you that taking your exam with the least number of distractions works best. Work with everybody. If you've got multiple people in your household, tell them. Say, I need to work on my accounting exam, and I'm going to need an hour and a half here and there or whatever. And it's like, what are y'all up to? Because you don't want all the craziness happening in the background. Are you identifying with this? You're smiling quite a lot. Yeah. So it's like you don't want all the craziness going on in the background. That's a distraction for you. Okay. And I will tell you flat out that y'all probably have no idea who this is, but John Cougar Mellencamp helped me pass my Russian history exam when I was in high school. When I did all my studying, so you know who he is. So I had the cassette tape. You with me? I had the cassette tape running in the background constantly while I was studying for my Russian history exam, and I couldn't remember something, and all of a sudden that song came back, and I was like, and I went, oh yeah. Okay, so when I say distractions, I don't necessarily mean silence. Okay, now I will say when I have to read, I cannot read in a room where there's music that I want to sing along to. Now, if I got like some classical music going on or something like that, that all works because I can't sing along to that, and that works. But it's just a little bit, because I am extroverted. The whole everything being just dead silent kind of drives me nuts. All right. What else? So I think that's about all I got. Now, let's look at this one. I'm going to switch over. Right now I'm in student view, so I'm going to go to number 11, and I'm going to return to the instructor view. I bet it logged. Oh, no, it didn't. Good. Because I want you to see this one, because a lot of times looking at it, it's this one. Nope, it's the next one. Pretty sure. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this one, because this one, I'm not going to focus on the journal entries. I'm going to walk you through this process of posting. So if you miss this, and again, I know I mentioned it before, at the end of every chapter in your book, there is, at the very end, there's usually like a few pages at the end of the chapter, and it says demonstration case. And it gives you a really great comprehensive problem that in minute detail, it walks you through how to get the answer to this problem. And it's a really nice one, because if you can just lay it all out, at least for me, if you can just lay it all out and you can then start tracking where all this information is moving, you start going, oh, I see what they're trying to accomplish here. So up until this point, we've really focused on the journal entries. So, I'm going to assume that we could get to all these journal entries, because I don't think there's any of them that are, we've looked at every single one of these. The only one that we haven't looked at is like item number 4 here. Item number 4 is we rented stables to customers. Now, again, don't skip this part up here at the top and immediately go to input for journal entries, because you need context. So in this one, they tell you Spicewood Stables Incorporated was established in Dripping Springs, Texas on April 1. The company provides stables, care for animals, and grounds for riding and showing horses. You have been hired as the new assistant controller, which is effectively for most small businesses sort of like the assistant to the CFO, effectively. Following transactions for April are provided for your review. So if we are Dripping Springs, if we are Spicewood Stables, then when they give you this information, how do we earn revenue? Well, we provide stables. So if somebody's keeping their horse there, right? Care for the animals. We brought in the vet. We got all the inoculations and everything together, right? Grounds for riding. So somebody came in, got their horse out of the stable, and we allowed them to ride for the afternoon or something. And then showing horses. So maybe somebody came in and maybe we had a show where multiple people came in and they're riding around and everybody's being judged on their horse and their riding abilities, right? That's how we earn revenue. So don't skip over that part, because if you skip that, I think you lose the picture of what's really happening. Because again, in accounting, there's all this activity going on in this business, and we're trying to drill it all down, put it into what's happening in 3D, we need to put into 2D and send it through the accounting system to figure out what's going on and if the company is running well and all that. So in this one, it says we rented stables to customers, so that's one of the things that we do, right, who cared for their own animals. Okay, so apparently we've got two options here when we rent a stable. You can rent the stable and we provide animal care, or you rent the stable and you provide animal care. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't like our veterinarian, maybe you want somebody else's. And then it says we received cash of $13,000 on April 4th for rent earned this month, right? So in this particular case, we don't have sales or service revenue in this one. We have rent revenue. You with me? But if let's say that somebody came in and they kept their horse there, and we provided them with veterinary services. If the vet came in, checked out their horse and everything, and we had to bill them for that, it would be service revenue. Good. If let's say that we provide them with, I don't know, X number of meals per, the horses, X number of meals per day, X pounds of hay, or whatever it might be, it would be sales revenue. Because it's product. You with me? So don't skip over the whole thing of, what the company does and how they try to slow down, get the picture, and then move forward. Okay? So we put together the journal entries. Now, this right here, remember, is what we call the general. Nope, not the journal. All right? So let's make the distinction. This is the general journal, right? Journals are in chronological format. This is in order. This is in chronological order. Okay? Good, there you go. This is the general ledger. So think of it like this. The general journal is just, I don't know, think of it as here's my picture. You got a spiral bound notebook and you're going around every day, and every single time you spend any money or anything else, you're writing it down in that spiral bound notebook, but you can't tear any of the pages out, right? And then when you get back home, it's like, okay, I'm going to pull all the items that affected cash, I'm going to pull those out, and I'm going to put it into a tabbed notebook. So cash has a tab, accounts receivable has a tab, revenue has a tab, all the expenses have a tab. You with me? So now you can keep up with how much cash do I have, how much accounts receivable have we billed but not collected, how much supplies do we have in the supply closet, how much prepaid insurance have we not used, how much did we pay for the buildings, we'll get to some additional work on buildings later, how much accounts payable, so how much have we bought but we haven't paid for yet. Deferred revenue, how much have we been paid for but we owe service or product. Notes payable, that's what we've borrowed from the bank but haven't paid back yet. Common stock, that's how much common stock we've issued and received from the shareholders. We've earned $16,000 in revenue, in service revenue. We've earned $13,000 in rent revenue. We've incurred utilities expense of $2,000, and we've got $14,000 in wages. Everybody showed up for work, and we got $14,000 in wages. Now, if you're trying to get all this in and you're thinking, oh my God, she's moving so fast, let me give you some tips. Don't freak out. Watch what happens here. You are going to come up here to the top, and you should see a button up here at the top, and one of those buttons should say Submit. Okay? When you hit Submit, that is basically going to, call it, finalize your attempt. And then when you go back in to the main web page, let's see. Actually, let's walk through this. Okay? Everybody open up Connect, because I want to make sure that because we're getting ready to hit an exam, we need to make sure that you know where to find this. Because this is for every single assignment that you've taken. Okay? So go into, it doesn't matter how you get there. Click on any assignment, whether it be practice or actual assignment. Just don't click on a quiz or an exam, okay? Because that's going to start the clock. And when you get out to Connect, yeah, click on that item. What did it say? It says like homepage or something, doesn't it? Yeah, it's over on the right-hand side, and it's a little link that says, yeah, it's on it's a little button on the right-hand side that says Connect Section Home. Click on that Connect Section Home. So when you've got that Connect Section Home there, you should see over on the left-hand side, you should see your course materials, my name, the book. You should see the little sharpen. That's a really good study tool. You can do it on your computer. I think you can do it on your computer. You can also download that little Sharpen app to your cell phone. But over on the right-hand side, right, list all the assignments. Okay? How we doing? All right. If you're not there, are you good? Or do I need to slow down? Okay. All right. You're getting there. All right. Perfect. Course home. There you go. You got it. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You see that black bar over on, so if you're on Connect, you see the black bar over on the far left-hand side that says Menu at the top with the 3 lines. All right. And if you go down, you see at the bottom there where it says Results. Okay. And you see ACC120. Okay. Once you hit that Results area, you should see the list of assignments that you have completed. On that list of assignments that you've completed, if you click on it, you should see, like, if you did, let's say you did 3 attempts on your homework, you would see Chapter 1 homework, and you click on that assignment, and you would see Attempt 1, Attempt 2, Attempt 3. Get you there? Okay. Go to Content. There you go. Go to Coursework. And just go to maybe Unit 1. And go to Chapter 1 Assignments. And just choose like the Chapter 1 Smart Book. Okay, and just launch. Okay, we're clicking on Connect Section Home. Right here. And right here, this black menu. Yep, so click Menu. Click Results. Choose the correct. Yes, I think it is no, that's last. Hit the menu again. Results. Hit the. We need to scroll. There we go. It's probably that. There you go. There you go. So then you got Chapter 1 homework, right? So if you took Chapter 1 homework 3 times, you should see that. So you see the view attempt. If you submit any of the practice work that we do in class, you will see Attempt 1, okay? And what it will do is, when you click on Attempt 1, it will show you on any of these practice assignments. You don't even have to input anything. You can go, just open up the practice assignment, hit Submit, go in through this to get to that attempt, and then when you click on it, there is, for each question, I think it toggles, there's a question, you go to the whatever question that you had a question about, and you toggle between show my answer and show correct answer. And it will, when you say show correct answer, it will give you the solution to the question. So it might be that kind of thing where when you say show my answer, maybe take a snip with, all the little red X marks, right? Throw that over to one side, toggle to show correct answer, and then compare where you were off. Okay? Oh, it's confused. Yep, because you got multiple tabs open there that are in McGraw-Hill. Yeah, close all them. There you go. Yeah, and I'll try it again. Uh-huh. Hit no. Go. Yeah. All right, click continue. All right, now let's see if we can get do a save and exit. Dang. Have at it. Thank you. All right. Are you following? You see how that's working? So again, you always have access to all of the work and all of the solutions, even your quizzes. So the only thing on your quizzes, and I think your homework maybe, is I don't give you access to the detailed solution until after the due date. No offense, I don't want you sharing that with your buddy, okay? If you got it right, awesome. But I don't, I will coach you however I need to coach you to get you to the correct answer. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes that's a little challenging. But the deal is you always have access to all the work, all the solutions. Did you get it? Awesome. Okay, perfect. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I want you to succeed. Okay? It's like my dream one day is that everybody will make a 100 on every exam. Okay? Yeah. Woo! Be awesome, wouldn't it? So just keep that in mind. I'm not trying to mess with you. I hated it when instructors did that to me. Those annoying instructors that it was like, he's trying to make me figure out what he's thinking, and my ability to read minds has never been good. I get it. I do. All right, so is everybody good on where you can find all the solutions and everything else, how you would get there, what you've got access to? The biggest thing is that you have to go into Connect to get there and see all that information, okay? All right, okay, so does everybody see how this is working? So it's like effectively what we're doing here is we're looking at, when we're moving it from all this chronological information into the general ledger, all we're really doing is like say, there's two ways that you can do this, okay? One, you can just simply come down through here and you need to set whatever works best for you, but figure out a way that will keep you organized. So for instance, one way that we could do this is we would take a snippet of this, throw it over to one side, and let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to take a snip of as much as I can. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to throw this to one side, and then I'd go to requirement 2. Now, since the general ledger is in order of liquidity, like we talked about that the balance sheet goes in, if I wanted to start up here with cash, just keep in mind that would all be blank, right? But I just come over here to the left-hand side, and I start working my way down the screen, and it's like, hang on. I start working my way down the screen. I'm like, okay, I got that one. I got that one. I got that one. You with me? That one. This is not rocket science, but I'm just telling you, it takes a lot of being organized. And you may sit there and go, I'm not going to mark those off. Just be ready for your answer to be wrong, and be ready to try to figure out where you screwed it up. Because it's a super easy process. Just mark each one off. It's like move all the cash over. All right. Then we come back over and we move over here to accounts receivable. And then we go back over here to this side, and we pick up all the items that hit accounts receivable. And as we move them over to the accounts receivable account, we mark them off. Done, done, done. Here's a great thing. In your comprehensive problem, this is done for you. But we make you do it manually a few times. Okay? How we doing? So that right there is one of those annoying things. It's not hard, but that can be super annoying if you miss something and then now suddenly everything's out of balance and now you can't figure out what's going on. And let me just tell you, now you get to do it all over again. Because now the only way to figure it out is go back through each one and go, okay, did I get that cash over there? Did I get that common stock? So slower and more meticulously is a better way to go, because doing it twice is going to be a lot of work. Okay. Now notice what happens here. As we get summary solutions here for the balances in each one of the accounts, so like cash is 124.4, accounts receivable is 15, then we simply get an unadjusted trial balance. Now notice 124.4, 15, right? We're just moving the ending balances over into the trial balance. All that we're doing there, remember trial, test, all we're testing here is, did we get all the debits and credits from this general journal into the general ledger? Okay? Now, one important thing to understand is that, did we get all the debits in as debits, and did we get all the credits in as credits? Let me make one thing, if you need to hear me on this one. It does not mean that you got it into the correct account. So if this trial balance balances, it only means that debits got in as debits from the journal to the ledger, and credits got in as credits from the journal to the ledger. Because you could have put that $13,000 in rent revenue right there. You could have posted it to service revenue, and now you got $29,000 sitting in service revenue and nothing in rent revenue. You with me? So then, once you get to this point, you do need to step back from it and go, does that look right? And hopefully you remember thinking, I thought we did some rent revenue or something in there somewhere. And that's the only way you're going to realize that you got an error. Yes?
So like the cash one, is that from the ledger?
It is. So think about what just happened here. We took all the debits and credits that hit cash. We put them into the ledger. We took those ledger balances, right, and we got a net total balance, right, ending balance. That net ending balance comes right here to the trial balance. Okay? Once that balances, we pretty much, you know, and we step back from it and go, do those balances look legit? Okay, and we think so, we move on. We can now calculate preliminary net income, net profit margin, maybe put together a financial statement, an income statement, a retained earnings statement, a balance sheet. We do any of those, okay? And then, you know, this one just asks, you know, determine whether the net profit margin is better or worse than 30% earned by a close competitor. So one of the important things to understand about all of these ratios and stuff that we're going to look at over the term is a larger number better or is a smaller number better? And you got to remember which is which, depending on which ratio it is. You need to think theoretically, so I don't typically try to make you go in this direction, but on those ratios, theoretically, it's like, you know, that ratio could be from, so like, let's say current ratio. Current ratio could be anywhere from 0 to infinity. Some other ratio may be limited to 0 to 1. And if its range is 0 to 1, it's like, is 1 better or 0 better? If 0 to infinity is better, what's better, infinity or 0? You with me? So don't lose that little bit of theoretical, you know, critical thinking going on there. All right. Let's see. Let's open up. Question? Okay. In bright space, because this is a pretty good little question for practicing for the exam, is under Unit 2, right here. There's your comprehensive problem assignment. Under Unit 2. Now, keep in mind, under Unit 2, it's only Chapter 4 and the comprehensive problem. Okay? You won't have enough information in Chapter 4 to complete the comprehensive problem, because we still need a little bit in 5 and I think a little bit in 6 to sort of finish it off. But you can go ahead and start that if you wanted to. So if I open up the comprehensive problem over here in Connect, and it is right here. Hang on, I need to put it in student view. So here's your comprehensive problem. And again, you can open this and work in it as many times as you want to if you hit save. Okay? Also keep in mind that in McGraw-Hill, once you key the number in there, if something happens, you did not just lose all of your work. Your work is out there. Even if you didn't hit the save button, you might miss that last input point or something, but all your other work is saved, so don't let that freak you out if I don't know, your Wi-Fi goes out or whatever it might be. Okay, it's fine. But here is your comprehensive problem. You get 3 attempts just like your homework. Okay, I hit continue, and again, if I keep hitting save and exit, save and exit, save and exit, I can go in there 52,000 times. Okay, but notice what happens here with the check my work. The format of this question is these tabs. So you get 10 check my works each submission, because it doesn't treat it like it's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. You with me? Okay? So keep that in mind. And if you get to a point where you're like, I know that's right, and I can't figure out what's wrong with it, come and see me. Because the more you put off seeing me, you're just getting yourself farther and farther behind. Okay? So don't come and see me. I don't care how small it is. A lot of times there's some teeny tiny little thing that's throwing your logic off, and it's like, oh no, we can just dial that in, and now we got it. Because let me just tell you, one small logic error, let's say for instance, you weren't clear on when to record supplies expense. You with me? Now your income statement's off. Now your retained earnings statement is off. Now your balance sheet is off. Because remember, they're dependent upon one another. If your income statement's wrong, then your retained earnings statement's wrong, then your balance sheet is wrong. So one teeny tiny little thing like, it's like, why am I recording that expense? Can throw it off. If you're off with something of, I'm not quite clear on when to record revenues, same thing. That early error just flows right through that whole entire problem. And I'm not kidding when I say that you could have 10 points wrong from this tiny little error back here. And that's kind of annoying. Come see me. So the way that this will work is, here's your general journal. So if you want to use this to study for the exam, go in there. Look for the transactions where you've got cash, receipts, cash payments, billing customers, recording invoices from vendors. You can do all of those right now. And you can hit check my work on this journal entry tab and see if you got it right, to sort of test yourself. Remember that you can hit recharge on all your smart books. So that smart book, it's not for points, but you can recharge it to work on that. You can always go back in for and look at your attempts for your homework. Try to do it all over again. You can work on practice. You can go into practice as many times as you want to, and you can screw it up as many times as you want to. It has absolutely no effect on your grade. Okay. What else? Oh, you asked me how many questions are on the exam. All right.